Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Welcome everybody to our review session for the Dream Big 10-day course. I see, mashallah, people are coming in, so I'll just wait a few minutes before we begin. Um, I hope everyone is doing well and has been reviewing since our course. Inshallah, today we're going to be going over the workbook that you had received. If you came in person, you should have gotten a physical workbook. And if you saw online, if you're viewing online, there's also one available in our resources that is a soft copy. So if I can just check with you all, the audio is coming fine. You all can hear me well. All right. And that is okay if you've not completed everything yet. Inshallah, follow along and it will slowly stick and it'll start coming together, inshallah. But just if you feel yourself having any questions as we go through this, there will be a time to write those out, and I'll try to answer some. You can put them in right now. I'll try to answer some as we go at any point, and then at the end, we'll open the floor for any other questions that we might have. So, alhamdulillah, I see all of your guys' responses. So that's good that the audio is fine, and I think we can go ahead and begin. So let's go ahead and we see that we have our definitions here of ism, fi'l, and harf. And the alternative definitions that we wanted from you all was to say that the ism, it has a meaning, it is unattached to time, and it is not a fi'l or a harf. So this can further your understanding of what an ism is, right? It's a very simple kind of explanation. This is a little bit more deep on what a ism actually is. A fi'l has a meaning, but unlike the ism, it is attached to time and it is not an ism or harf. It is important that we say that the fi'l has a meaning. Oh, hold on. Let me try to fix the screen for you all. How about this? Is this better? On my end, it looks clear. Is this clearer? If you all could let me know. This recording that I'm making, Fatima, it should be up. So, all right. So this is better. Alhamdulillah. So that's good. Now, let's go on to harf. A harf has no meaning on its own, and it is not an ism this should not be harf, this should be a fi'l. So this is a typo. I would change that right here for you all. Oh, give me 1 second. Oh, okay, so this should actually be a fi'l. All right. Let's look at our blurry. Okay, let me see if I can fix this blur issue for you all, inshallah. Okay. I guess it is your guys' internet. I did check before. So for me, and it's coming in clearly. Maybe the recording will also be a little bit clearer. I have zoomed in, so I think this should be better, inshallah. Um, so the other live that we're having is on Bayana Facebook. So we have Bayana YouTube, and on the Bayana Facebook, we're going to be broadcasting this. Yes, that's a great suggestion, Naveen. For those who are complaining about blurs, inshallah, just try to follow along on your workbook, as I think it might be just an internet issue. All right, so let's go and identify the words in the table. Are they isms, fi'ls, or harf? A table is going to be an ism, It is not in time and it has a meaning. And our easy definition, it's a person, place, or thing. This in this case, a thing. And we're gonna go to the right. The cats are an ism. Again, they're a thing. In is a harf. A harf has no meaning on its own. So if I just say in, right, it's not gonna, you're gonna be like, in what? Like I have to say something with it. Does that make sense? Let's go to Dallas. Dallas is an ism, it's a place. So part of our person, place, or thing. Of is a harf. Again, you have to have something with of, right? And then we have loudly, which is an ism. Loudly is a description, it's an adjective, or it could even be an adverb, one of the other, and so it is going to be an ism. Jumps is a fi'l because it's an action. Peace is an ism. Tall is an ism. From is a harf. Also, let me know. Yes, very nice, Tasfia. So I was not going to mention it here, but that is a good note that it can be both. There was a note here as well for that, but I thought for our purposes, as in we're going to translate this to Arabic. In Arabic, it will be a fail, right? So I left it as fail, but you are right that Ustad said it can be both because in English we don't have like a tense when it comes to jumps. So, um, right. The reason for that is because jumps and smiles, right? He jumped or he will jump. It's just kind of in English, it can be, if we look at it just in English, it doesn't really have a tense to it from my understanding. So it can be considered an ism, but for our purposes in Arabic, it will become a fi'l from what I understand. All right, let's go on to, we did peace is going to be ism. It's an idea, a concept, and then tall is also an ism. From is going to be a harf. Again, from what? Can't say it on its own. We have slept, which is a fi'l, something in the past that is attached to a tense. Is it valid to say a harf could not be a response to a question? I would say that it is not valid because, or no, I would actually, what I mean to say, it is valid, I think, in English, right? Because if you, it's still incomplete, but sometimes we use it. Like if somebody says, um, like where is this from or something, you might say from, and you might trail off, you might not even say what, right? And it's understood. Or is this of this, and you say of because you didn't hear it, and you might not say of what. Do you know what I mean? So but I don't think that really matters in terms of our context and how we're going to use it to learn Arabic. But good question, Adam. So let's go on. We have slept, we did with fi'l. And then soundly is an ism. So it describes something, an adjective or an adverb, and an ism for the word soundly. I think this one will be an adjective though. We have on, which is a harf, on top, on what, has to be with something. Freedom, which is an ism. Red, which is an ism, it's a description or a color, which is a thing. A harf, a is going to be harf because even me, when I read it, my brain automatically is like, I can't say a by itself. So I read the next one, harf, right? Mecca is ism. Mother will be ism. At, which is a harf. Students are ism. They're a thing. Roller coaster is also a thing. A cake is an ism. It's a thing. Typing is an ism or fi'l. Again, one of those tricky ones for us. And then house is going to be ism. Country is going to be ism. America ism, and smiles is fi'l. So I went through. These are very self-explanatory. If we have any if you all have any questions on these, put them down below. I think for some of the more self-explanatory parts, I'm just going to kind of go through them and ask if there are questions without reading each one out. Um, but this is meant to be an interactive session, so definitely let me know, inshallah, what you all prefer and like. All right, let's move on to the second page. And then there is a link for you to follow if you all go to the Dream Big website. It's under materials. If you register for free, you're going to be able to see it. It's under the name handout. Smiles can also be an ism too. Yes, that is correct. Usually words ending with ing, Zohal, can be are usually like a fi'l for our purposes. So ing, like I'm running, that's a fi'l, right? But that's not like a hard rule. There are some exceptions there. Every ism has four properties. Write the four properties of the ism here. So that's status, number, gender, and type. And then we have three forms of status. Do we have any questions on the three forms of status here? This is, we have the doer, which is always going to be rafa. Again, that's your dhammatain, or like the two, like if you have two circles, like on the fa, what we have here, but two of them. Or it's going to be one, depending on light, if it's light. And we're going to get to that as well. Our object, which is the detail, and that's nasab, which means it has a fatha, which is that one line on top. And then we have the word after of, which is jar, with the e sound or the kasra, or the usual or an in, right? If it's heavy. So does this make sense to everyone? I'm just going to make it a little bit more zoomed in. In a sentence where there will always be one rafa. Uh, Adam, could you clarify what you mean by that for me? Do you mean as a doer? And then Layma, are these set in terms of doer, detail, and after of? Also, please clarify that question for me as well. What do you mean by set? All right. Let's go to an example here. A teacher entered the classroom. So the teacher is the person that is doing the entering, who is coming in, right? That is why the teacher is considered rafa. So if this was an Arabic sentence, that teacher would have a dhammatain on it, or the two circles with the line coming out of them, dhammatain. The classroom is nasab, which means it has a fatha or fathatain, the two straight lines, because it is a detail. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, I see jar is a little confusing. What is confusing about jar? Oh, okay, Layma, I understand what you mean. So in terms of are these set doer, detail, and after of, so are they always like dhammatain, fathatain, kasratain? Do they always present like that? Sometimes they will present a little bit differently for the detail and the after of, but that's something we're going to learn in the next review session. So I would say yes, they are set, but sometimes they look a little different. Rafa will always be doer. Yes, that's correct. Dhammatain will always be rafa. Yes, rafa is set for sure. When it comes to nasab and jar, sometimes you're going to have to look at the context of the sentence to be able to understand which one it is. When you say that nasab is a detail that is affected by the verb, that is a good question. It just depends on what you mean by affected, right? I think that's what I would like the answer to before I give you a firm answer on that. The teacher and the student entered. Is it two separate rafa? Yes, that is correct, Adam. All right, while these comments come in, let me go on to number 2. A student of his. Okay, let's see. A student is the doer in this sentence because if we look later on, there's a verb saying sleeping, right? So who is sleeping? The student. Of his. Can anybody tell me why his is jarred here? So his is jar because when we talked about possession, right? Usually when you have a possession, like my notebook, we change it into a of form, right? Student of his could also be in English, his student, right? And the way that you do this is that you add a pronoun or an attached pronoun here. And the word after of is going to be jar, always. All right, let me just look at some of your comments here. Rafa is the same as marfu. Yeah, that's correct. All right, let me move on. If I didn't see your question, please just repost it for me. And then soundly is nasab because it is a detail. How is he sleeping? Soundly. So a lot of times you can ask yourself, okay, like who is going to be your doer? How or questions like kind of like when. All of those are details of what was going on, if that makes sense. All right. The teacher threw a pencil. Who is throwing the pencil? The teacher. So the teacher is automatically rafa. And what did they throw? Another question, who or like when, what, how. These are all detail type questions. That is going to be nasab because it is a detail of the verb. Okay. The teacher, the teacher's student. Who can tell me? It's going to sound a little wonky, but who can tell me how can we flip around this possession statement, right? The teacher student. In Arabic, what would this look like? What is like we went over it like literally 5 minutes ago. What is like the form they would use? The student of the teacher, right? So it sounds kind of like strange to say, but that in English, but in Arabic, that's how it'd be written. And so this is why student is rafa and the after of teacher is going to be jar. Woke up suddenly. How did he wake up suddenly? So that's going to be your nasab, your detail. Okay. Three forms of status. Place R, N, or J over the highlighted words. My teacher drinks chocolate milk regularly. This is how, so it's going to be nasab. So no, will nasab is not both the doer and the detail. Nasab is just the detail. Rafa is always your doer. Does that make sense? All right. Yes, doer is rafa, which means it has dhammatain or dhamma. We'll cover that dhamma part later. Okay, yes, perfect. Awesome. Yeah, yeah, nasab can be like an adverb. Yep, that's true. Or it can be anything that, well, no, because you can have jar that supports the sentence too. Like, I'm running to the store. To the store would be jar because of ila, right? So, all right, let's go to number 2. He does not like vegetables or fruits. Who doesn't like it? It's he, so he is rafa in this sentence. Number 3, he buys his chocolate milk happily. All right, so who can tell me, like, what's the doer in number 3? Going to be he, right? Because he buys his chocolate milk happily. And chocolate milk is a detail. What is he buying, right? I don't think Ustad said that Rafa will come before jar. What are you referencing? So if you look here, okay, I'm gonna wait for this person, inshallah, to clarify what their question is. He buys his chocolate milk happily. Chocolate milk is the detail, so it is gonna be nasab. Does that make sense? And yes, his would be jar because it's chocolate milk of his, right? So let's go on to number 4. He knows his children like it, but he doesn't like it. This is going to be nasab because it's a detail. He is the doer of knowing. Knows what? That's the question. What answers what? That's going to be your detail. His children. He knows his children like it. I am tempted to ask, who is the doer of like it? Can anyone tell me? The children, right? The children like it. But that's something extra. That's something a little advanced. Just a little hint to you. I see some discussion about jar. What is rafa in English? Rafa means like the doer, I think is how we're translating it for right now for you. Um, Chocolate milk is going to be nasab because it is a detail. But the word his would be considered jar because if we changed it around to the English version, chocolate milk of his, the word after of is always what? Jar, right? Happily would also be a detail because it's how did he buy it? He bought it happily. He didn't buy it angrily, right? So it answers that question. So it's another detail. But this is all really extra. I think we're going to try to stick to the highlighted words and if there's any questions regarding those. Because we don't want to confuse you. We don't want to go too far too fast, right? I will give you little hints of things to come in the future. We want to make sure we have our foundation solid so that whatever we build from it is also very strong, inshallah. These sessions are recorded, Sumaya, yes. Number 5 is looking confusing. Let's go to number 5. My teacher. Does everybody understand why my is jar? Because it's teacher of mine. And remember, after of is always jar. So with possession, we have to get used to in Arabic. There's this flip of how we say it. It becomes a of in the middle, and whatever's after it becomes jar. It makes it easier to understand, right? So my coat would be coat of mine, right? Teacher becomes teacher of mine. Very nice. Also likes yummy shawarmas. So it's describing what he likes. So this would also be a detail. All right, let's go to number 6. His students also like shawarmas. So who likes the shawarmas? The students. So in this case, it will be Rafa. Number 7, he buys shawarmas for his class sometimes. Sometimes means how often does he buy it? It answers a question about the verb, which makes it a detail. Is that making sense to everyone? So ask yourself, who is doing it? That is the doer. That is Rafa. How, what, when, all of those questions is the detail. Okay, we have some questions on number 4. Um, his children can be switched around to be children of his. Children of his. Does that make sense? How that possession works? Why is children not Rafa? The reason why children is not Rafa or labeled Rafa is because we're talking about it in reference to this verb right here, knows. We are not talking about it in reference to this verb, if that makes sense. All right, let's go on. Number 8, he loses his phone often. Can anyone explain why his is jar? His is jar because it's the after of, right? Phone of his. Phone of his. Very nice. Number 9. My teacher patiently explains hard concepts. The reason why this is nasab is because it's how does he explain it? It answers a question about your verb. Very nice. Very good. MashaAllah. You guys are getting it. All right. Number 10. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive my teachers. Ameen. So who will he forgive? The detail is teachers here. Okay. All right. A very good question. Is Rafa always a person? No, Rafa is not always a person. Rafa is it can be anything that is doing an act, right? So, for example, if in English I say the waves rushed to the shore. The waves rushed to the shore, like at the beach, right? The verb is rushed, and the doer is waves. Sorry, Jazakallah khairan, Alia. Alia said number 9 would be me, that I am the patient teacher explaining. Well, thank you for that. So the waves is a doer of rushing to the shore, right? So any doer, it's not going to be a person. It can be an animal. It can be a thing. Um, it just has to have that dhamma or dhammatain on it. So will any, yes, you could say that, those types of words are usually nasab, like, but I'm not going to say, like, for example, like sometimes would be nasab. Um, it just depends on if it answers a question about the verb. It also depends on translation, because we are going to learn words that mean like he does not or he won't, or like we're going to learn negation. So I don't want to give you like a firm answer, but you're on the right track. Does that make sense? Like for example, we have sometimes here. This is nasab, right? And if you want to say like always, or if you say like every day, or those would be details about how often does he do something. So I would say yes. But when it comes to never, like the word never itself, I'm gonna have you wait on that until we get further along into our lesson, and then you're gonna learn about negation, and it'll make more sense to you. So just hold on for that. Kindly explain dhamma and dhammatain. So dhamma is the oo sound that we see on words. Also, I might have to save this answer for the end of class, just so we can make sure that we get through our lesson. So remind me again, inshallah, in about 15-20 minutes, and let me go back and show you an actual example of dhamma and dhammatain. Okay. All right, let's go on. How do we tell status? Oh, great. This answers your question. It's actually right on the next page, so I don't have to go and find it. So rafa recognition. This is a u sign, right? This is what we call dhamma, and it says u. The next, right next to it is what we see more often, I feel, is the un, right? Un. And this is the ending for a singular word, okay? Go back to your Muslim chart, Muslimu and Muslimun, right? Dual, two people. It's either a or ani. Think Muslimani, okay? For plural, it's either u or una, right? Right now we are more familiar with una and ani. We've heard muslimuna, muslimani, right? And this is the ending for a plural. So are these recognition points making sense to everybody? That it's just a Muslim chart, like more deconstructed. Un, ani, una. If we're making it light, for those of you who know what light is, we're going to cover it a little bit later. It's u, a, and u. For the feminine, it's going to be a tun or a tu, and tun and tu as well if they were singular feminine. Okay, great. Alhamdulillah. Let's go on. Nasab, same thing, very self-explanatory. We have an or a, right? If it's light. Aini or a, we drop the noon if it's light. Ina or e, dropping the noon for light. Atun and ati, dropping the noon for light. So really that in sound, the noon sound is what we drop if we want to make something light. Okay? Sounds and combinations. Perfect. Very nice. All right. Let's go on. We have jar recognition. So this is in or e, Muslimin, aini, Muslimaini, or muslimay, and muslimina or muslimi. Atin or ati, depending on if it's light. So remember earlier in the session, we had somebody ask and say, hey, is this set that Dhamma is always going to be the rafa, right? And this is what I meant by it's set for the rafa status, but for nasab and jar, they share the same types of ending sounds and combinations, right? We have aini and ina, and so they're both very similar. So when you're looking at a sentence and you look at where it's placed, that's going to tell you if it's nasab or jar. If it has a harf jar behind it, it's going to tell you if it's nasab or jar, in this case jar, right? If it's a detail to a verb, it's going to be nasab. So that's how you're going to tell. So nasab and jar share some similarities in how they look, and the sentence or the fragment itself will answer that question of, hey, which one is this? Okay. Um, all right. Now we have emailed out a schedule for the classes. If you haven't received the email, uh, please email us at contact@bayana.com. We are going to be having not we're not going to have a class tomorrow and not the next day or actually I think it's going to be the day after. So in that schedule, it'll have it clearly for you. Please refer back to that because I am not remembering it right now. So, but you all should have received an email to the one that to attend this one. There should be information about the next one as well. The timing will be the same. Yes. Right. This is a review. So if this sounds very advanced for you, it's because we've been through this during our Dream Big class, which we also broadcast online. So we're just trying to do a review of that. As you all know, for those who attended the class, there will be an exam being sent out. So this is good review for that exam. All right, let's go on to page number 5. Write the rafat, nasab, or jar status of the words below. Indicate if the status is determined by ending sound or combination. All right, number 1, we have an-nasu with the u sound. This is rafa, and it is a sound. It's not a combination. Combinations are usually when you have a sound and a letter and another letter. So this is going to just be a sound. Number 2, al-kitaba. Ba with the a, nasab, it's going to be a sound. Number 3, nafsin. We have the in sound, so that means it's a jar, and it is a sound again. There's no extra letters that will make it a combination. Number 4, makithina. Over here we have ina, and notice we do not have any other context. So we're going to put nasab or jar, and we have a combination because of the multiple letters here. Ina. Wahidatin. In jar, and again it's a sound. Number 6, iwajan, nasab because it's un, and it's going to be a sound as well. Allah. One fatha here, it's going to be nasab. It is not there's never going to be a fathatain on the word Allah. It's a proper name, so it is partly flexible. It says Allah. That's something we will cover a little bit later if you don't know what I'm talking about, so hang on for that. But just that hint of that right? That one fatha is enough for us to say, oh, this is nasab, and it is a sound. We have 8, al-banuna with the una. It's going to be rafa with a combination. We have number 9, al-khabitha. Al-khabitha, nasab because of the a sound. And then number 10, al-bahraini. Aini is a combination. We do not know if it's nasab or jar since they both share that aini ending. So we put both here. Okay, yes, very nice. So exactly what Zuraida has said, that the TA means that the TAs are running it, and the Dream Big itself was from Ustad and directly from him. This is just review that we were doing afterwards. All right, let's go to number 11. Bit-tayyibi. Bit-tayyibi with the E. It's a jar, it's going to be a sound. Number 12, we have sabiran, nasab and sound. Any questions on these so far? Are they making sense? Number 13, we have huban. Again, the going to be nasab and sound. And as-safina tu makes the rafa. It's also going to be sound. Okay? Or this is just thulatha. One fatha shows us it's nasab and it's sound. And al-ardi is going to be jar and it's also a sound here. Okay, is number 4 one NJ or more? So this is a combination and it's plural. So it's going to be plural. Add it to your Muslim chart, like makithun, makithan, makithin, makithani, makithaini, makithaini, makithina, makithina, makithuna. I think I did the rafa at the end there, but this is why it is plural. It's because it's part of that lower part, okay? Lower part of the chart. Why is 8 combination but only rafa? Okay, so why is 8 combination but only rafa? Can you explain what you mean? That if it's a combination, it should be nasab or jar always? Is that what you're trying to ask, Adam? Oh, you got it? Okay, alhamdulillah. And then, yes, if you have a T, then it's going to be jar. Okay, no, that's fine. Any questions you all have, feel free to put it here. We're definitely here to go through and make sure everything is clear. So some people say they have a T written on a T, so then change this to jar. If you have a tu, it's going to be rafa. Okay. Number 15, thulatha, nasab and sound. Al-ardi, jar with the E sound. Nihlatan, nasab, also a sound because of the an. Number 10, you want to repeat al-bahraini. Okay, so here the word is bahr and the combination is the aini part. Aini. Does that make sense? Okay, alhamdulillah. Let's keep going. We have salihatin, nasab or jar, and a combination. Does everybody see why this is a combination? Even though it's a tin, it has a alif behind it. And that alif and the ta with the kasratain show us it's a plural feminine or a feminine plural. And that's why it has an alif paired with it. That's what makes it a combination. Let's go to number 19. Hani un, nasab, and it's a sound. Class, so we are planning, inshallah, to do for an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. So for me, it's about 8 to 10 where I'm at. So we'll probably finish by 8:30 at the latest, inshallah. Hani'an, nasab, sound. Basharun, rafa, and it's also going to be a sound. Al-walidani, the ani is a combination, right? The alif and noon kasra, and this is why it's rafa. It's a dual combination. Hizbaini, al-hizbaini. Another combination here with your aini sound. So really what you want to train your ear on is, am I hearing a ani, atin, aini, ina, una at the end? Or am I hearing just a one type of sound like un, in, un, or a, I, u, right? So really train your ear to hear these combinations. So when you see them, it's like, oh, I see aini here, and this is going to be a combination. You're not going to get confused or saying, oh, it's just a ni, right? You'll recognize that there is a sukun on the ya that is paired with the nun, okay? 23. Al-aqrabuna. Again, getting our ears used to those combinations. We have una, which we learned in our Muslim chart when we say muslimuna. This is rafa and it's plural. And then we have bisultanin, jar with the kasratain sound, okay? Now notice here you have a alif behind it. And you might say, oh, there's an alif behind it and I have a noon. And those go together, so it's a combination. But remember, when there's an alif behind it and it's going to be a combination, the noon will only have one kasra. All right, one kasra. Two kasras means it's going to be a sound. Al-unsayaini. Combination because you have aini here. Aini. So everybody see that? Muttaki'ina. Ina. Again, another combination. Ar-rubu'u. Rafa and sound. Self-explanatory. There's just one sound there. And al-jannataini, again, is a combination with the aini sound there. Khalidina with ina. Nasab or jar and a combination. And the number 30. قائمة فتحتين makes it nasab and a sound. Does anybody have any questions from 30 to 36? We can go through them quickly. Khalidina becomes nasab or jar because of the ina combination. قائمة right? It's a sound and nasab. Al-mujrimuna with the una becomes a combination that is rafa. As-samaa nasab with our one fatha and it'll be a sound. Mundirina, ina becomes a combination that is nasab or jar. Samawatin, okay. Is this going to be a sound or a combination? Well, we have the alif and the ta with the double kasratain or the double kasras here, also known as kasratain, right? So this is going to be a combination. The feminine plural is a combination. So just be careful you don't get confused between your feminine plural and a normal kasratain, right? Atin is a feminine plural. Atun is also a feminine plural, right? لغلامين. We have aini here. And this is going to be a combination. This will be uh, jar. Can anybody tell me why they put jar here and they didn't put nasab or jar? Yeah, that's exactly, Naveen. I'm wondering that too. Can anyone tell me why? Waiting for some comments to come in. Why is li ghulamaini only jar? Or is it nasab and jar? Who can tell me? Very nice, Sumaya. Yes, because of the li. Exactly. Li is a harf jar. So this is the context we're looking for, right? And it makes the word in front of it jar. So there's no question here that if it's nasab or not. Not nasab, it's going to be jar because of the li. Very nice. Al-mudillina, in this word, we do not have any such context, right? Al does not have any effect in terms of nasab and jar. Um, and so it's not a harf jar. It's not a harf nasab either. So it's nasab or jar, we don't know. And a combination because of the ina here. All right. Very nice. All right, our beloved Muslim chart that we've done a bunch in class. Any questions on this? Feel free to put that in the chat. As you can see here, we have our Ani combination, our Una combination, our Aini combination, and Ina, and the same thing for your Jar. Look at a feminine chart. The feminine chart adds a tab for your combination in the pair, right? Muslimatani, right? And muslimatun, which is our another combination here. This is not considered a sound, right? Oh, for the light version, we will go through the light version, but just imagine these uh, words without the noon type of sound at the end of it, right? Muslimun would become muslimu, muslimu. So Adam, what I want you to do, that's my hint for you, is try to do the rest of it on your own. And then when we get to it, you can see if your answer was correct. All right, let's keep going. We have our combination here for our pair in nasab and jar. Taini, taini, and atin, atin. Another ending combination. There is a broken plural chart. Right. For the broken plural, we do not have. Right. That is a good question. We can go past this as well. We can just ignore this for now. This will come in handy later because it kind of gives you like a hint of how broken plurals show up in words. Like they have a different pattern in their plural. So it's a nice chart to look at if you want kind of a hint into what we're going to be learning more in the future. But we can definitely go past this. All right. Light and heavy. Normally, an ism should be heavy. All the words in the Muslim chart are heavy that we've just read. And like I've mentioned, you have to remove that extra in sound. Do this by removing the double accent tanween or remove the extra noon at the end of the ism. Note, alif lam does not like tanween, but an ism with alif lam isn't considered light. All right, let's continue. Okay, here is for the student that was asking about the Muslim chart. I hope you were able to practice it. Here is the answer key for you. Let's read this together. Muslimu, muslima, muslimu, muslima, muslimay, muslimi, muslimi, muslimay, muslimi. So again, even in their dual and plural, nasab and jar, they kind of share the same types of ending combination. Okay. Then we have feminine. Muslimatu, right? The in sound is gone. Muslimata, muslimatu, muslimata, muslimatay, muslimati, muslimati, muslimatay, and muslimati again. The noons are all gone. The in or the aini, taini that would be here is gone in the light form. All right, identify whether the following words are light, heavy, or irrelevant. Muallimi is going to be light because there's no noon here. Talibati, same thing, there's no double kasra, light. Qamisun is heavy because you have that dhammatain. Aina is one fatha here on top of the noon, so it's going to be light. Kalimati, the e is also going to be light. Safinati will be light. Rusulan is going to be heavy, and Rasula is going to be light. Al-Banuna is irrelevant because it has an alif lam here. Qawlan is going to be heavy because of the dhammatain. Qulubin is going to be heavy because of the kasratain. So if you have alif lam, we consider it irrelevant if it's heavy or light because of the alif lam. Okay? Nisa'u is going to be light. All right. If your copy has din, then yes, it will be happy. It will be heavy. Let's continue. Number 12, nisa'u is light. Asatiru is light because of the one dhamma. And then mukhtalifuna, mukhtalifuna is going to be heavy. Who can tell me why this is heavy, considered heavy? Because of the noon, right? How would we read this if it was light? Can anybody tell me? Very nice. Well, if it's gonna be light, how would you, can anybody write? Okay, yeah, mukhtalifu. Good. The una would be gone. It would just be an u at the end. Then we have jahannama, light, because of the one fatha that is on it. And then we have number 16, hada'iqa, the same thing. 17 as well. Number 18 is going to be heavy because of the fathatain. Number 9, an-nashitati, going to be irrelevant because of the alif lam. So heavy and light really has to do with whether that noon sound stays there, whether it's in the form of your uh, double accents or if it's in its actual letter form of a noon being written there. Number 20, hadithu, light, and la'ibratan is going to be heavy. Al-mutanafisuna, the alif lam makes it irrelevant. ظالمي, light. ثلثا, light. And ذراعي, also light, because there is no noon that you would expect to see there when you have that ya sukun there. Does that make sense to everyone? All right, let's go on the reasons on why we make things light. Meaning they don't have that noon sound, right? As we saw in the previous drill. Number one is that they're partly flexible isms. We're going to get into what partly flexible is as well. Number two is mudaf. Mudaf means what? Before of, right? Number three, the one being called. Meaning if I say, if I'm calling someone and I say, hey you, right? In English, you'd say, hey you. But in Arabic, it would be, oh you, or yeah, somebody, right? If I'm calling my mom, yeah, ummi, the one being called would be light, right? And then number four, absolute categorical negation. This is something we will also cover, but with when you have a lam there, that's what this is referring to. Number nine, flexibility. So before we mention partly flexible, we're going to go into what flexibility is. There are three categories of flexibility. Number one is that fully flexible, this is what we're used to, where it can show its status in any form. It can be heavy or light. It's most of the words we've seen. And it's also our Muslim chart on page 6 that we have already looked at. Number two is non-flexible. Non-flexible is when it only has one form, right? And it looks the same. We cannot tell what status it is unless we look at the context of the sentence. So we don't know, like the words dunya and Musa, right? If we're looking at a word that says Musa says, then the word Musa is in rafa form, right? But if we say that it was said to Musa, right, then he might be in jar form because of that to there. Does that make sense? But it will never, that scene will never show a kasra on it or a dhamma. It's always just going to be Musa. It's stuck in one form. Here are some words that are non-flexible. الذي, these are called ism موصول as well. الذي, اللذان, الذين, التي, اللتان, اللائي, اللاتي, and then we have ma and man, which these are partly flexible, which we're going to get to in the next section. Um, there are certain words that are non-flexible, like for example, hudan, musa, dunya. So there is a way of knowing it. You know, the Arabic scholars have written them down and be like, these are they look the same all the time. All right, let's go to number three. Oh, and we also have our singular and plural pointing words. أولئك, تلك, ذلك, هؤلاء, هذه, and هذا. So these look the same whenever they are rafa, nasab, or jar. Their acts and marks do not change. Partly flexible, and we're going to end class with this. It's kind of when they're halfway there, right? They can't be heavy, so they don't have that noon sound we were talking about, and they can't take a kasra either. So they kind of stay in like this nasab light form or a dhamma or a rafa light form, right? They have two forms, one for rafa and one form for nasab and jar. So in this type of word, nasab and jar again share the same look, which is just one fatha. Does that make sense to everyone? When it ends with a fatha, it could be nasab or jar. And then Alia, I think what you mean was when it ends with an alif maksura, then it's non-flexible. Like the word Musa, this would be called an alif maksura. Okay. Partly flexible, a closer look. What kind of words are partly flexible? We have proper names of places, regardless of their Arab or not. So Makkatu, Makkata, Makkata. You can see here, these are sharing one fatha, right? So the context of the sentence, again, is going to tell you which form it actually is, but they look the same. That's really what partly flexible is all about, being light and then having that fatha form for nasab and jar. Over here, Pakistanu, Pakistana, Pakistana. The as are being shared and it's partly flexible. It will never say e here. It will never say makkati. That is incorrect. All right. Then we have, oh, look at our exception. If we have three letters with a sukoon in the middle, it will be an exception. Even if it's a proper name or a proper place, it will be fully flexible. So this is Adnun. What is Adnun, right? A place in Jannah. It is going to be fully flexible and to show its form in the fathatain and the kasratain. Adnan and adnin, all right? It is not partly flexible. Next, we have non-Arab names, proper names, okay? And the exception again is going to be non-Arab names spelled with three letters and a sukoon in the middle. Based on the hadith, there are four Arab prophets. The rest are non-Arabs. They are Muhammadun sallallahu alaihi wasallam, number two Salihun, number three Hudun, and number four Shu'aibun. So these are the Arab prophets, and their names are fully flexible, but everybody else is non-Arab, and their names are going to be partly flexible. For example, we have here Ibrahima, Ibrahim or Ibrahimu, Ibrahima, and Ibrahima, partly flexible because it's non-Arab. The word Nuh is an exception. Why? Because it's three letters with a sukoon in the middle. The word Imanu is a broken plural. All right. Are the following words fully, partly, or non-flexible? Do we have any questions on this section? And we can begin class going through this section as well. And if we don't have any questions here, I can open up the floor to any other questions you might have, and we can begin class next time with this chart since we are just about done. All right, let's go through a little bit of this. We have number one, Musa, non-flexible. All right. Okay, so we prefer to begin this next class, yep, because we are just about out of time. Okay, are you for Zuraida, are you talking the word sultan, like the actual word? Are you saying, or are you saying that as like a title for someone or somebody's name? Because those can be two different things. If you could clarify that for me. Number six, okay. What reason are you using to make it partly flexible? That's my question. Because remember, everything, our default is what? Fully flexible, right? So what is the reason? Yes, exactly. Very nice, Hani. So Sultan is a name that people give to others, but in Arabic, it is also just a word meaning king or ruler. So that's why I wanted to understand your perspective on it. Right. So the answer here is that it is a word itself, and it is not a dual combination at the end. No. All right, everyone. I will go ahead and end off here. Inshallah, next class we'll begin with this chart for number 10. Hold on to your questions for that. And please check your email for the date of the next class. The timing will be the same. Jazakumullahu khairan, everyone, for coming. It's been very good to get in touch with you all and answer your questions. And keep reviewing, inshallah. We will meet in just a few days from today, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. بسم الله والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.